With over 70 items on the menu, the Stardew Valley menu is impressive. But I wanted to figure out not just what can I cook, I wanted to actually take a look at the stats and figure out what is the best thing to cook. So today we are going to take a look at the dishes and the reasons to cook them to answer the question, what's for dinner? And we're not just going to listen to our taste buds and what our real life preferences are, because after all, this is just a game. So today we're actually going to take a look at the stats for the snacks to figure out what is the best dishes to cook for Stardew Valley. Come along with me. Now, with any kind of comparison, first we need to set up the rules to be fair and balanced. First thing we look at is the energy and the health points. And obviously, the greater the amount of energy and health that a dish allows, then the more points that it wins towards our total goal. Secondarily, then we look at the recipe. What kind of ingredients do we need to cook this dish? Obviously, the cheaper the ingredients, especially if we can grow them, that is more points. On the other side of the equation, if it's an expensive ingredients and rare items, that awards less points. Obviously, we are not going to be looking at diamond desserts with prismarine punch. It's not going to work. Finally, we're going to look at the buffs. The main reason I wanted to look into this is what is the greater level for more points, but also for cheap ingredients. What's the best return of investment of what I put into a dish that I get out of it? Now, I have tried to treat the buffs as fair as possible. I kind of graded farming as a buff more beneficial early on in the game, mining a little later, things like speed, they're valuable throughout. Now, I did the hard part of putting this all through Excel, calculator work. I did the nerd work. Let me save you that nerd work, and let's go through the points of my top 10 favorite dishes for Stardew Valley. Coming in at number 10, the triple espresso. It has, true, only 8 points of energy, 3 points of health, but it's ridiculously cheap. Coffee beans that you can grow to turn into coffee, and 3 coffees become your espresso. But it gives you speed right off the get-go. And when you're trying to get those chores done as soon as possible, that is valuable to have. Coffee is available from the saloon. Coming in at number 9, the Bean Hot Pot. Before I did the review, was actually my go-to meal. With 125 points of energy, 56 points of health, it was something I would take to the mine with me regularly because it's ridiculously cheap. I need 2 green beans to make this. It came with an energy upgrade of 30 points, and it also gave you a 32 points of magnetism. I greatly appreciated that. The Bean Hot Pot still makes it onto this list of the top 10 dishes I would take, and it's available from Clint at the 7 Hearts level. Number 8, cranberry sauce. Cranberry sauce ties with Bean Hot Pot on the health and energy levels. With 125 points of energy, 56 points of health, it's not too much more expensive. It only needs cranberries and then sugar that you can pick up from the general store. It also gives you a +2 mining buff, so it's got a great advantage with that. This is one of the things I discovered when I started looking at the statistics behind the menus. Cranberry sauce is available from Gus at the 7 Heart event. Number 7, pepper poppers. You knew they'd make it onto this list. 130 points of energy, 58 points of health, and pretty cheap. You just need peppers and cheese, which you can grow on your farm. And for that, you get a +2 farming, which does come in handy, but I love the fact that it also comes with speed. Pepper poppers are available from Shane at the 3 Heart event, so you can get that fairly early on. Number 6, clam chowder. Clam chowder is great for the fishing people. It's 225 points of energy with 101 points of health, and it is fairly economical. Milk, but you do need to be beachcombing to get the clams. but those are pretty common, so that's why it's still ranked well enough to make it onto the top 10 list. And for that reward, you get a +1 skill to your fishing. And especially when you're trying to complete the community center, any kind of buff that you can get to your fishing skill is welcome. You get the recipe from Willie at the 3 Heart event. Again, pretty early on in the game. Coming in at number 5 is the Maple Bar, which is at 225 points of energy, 101 points of health, and is still made with fairly common ingredients. You are tapping trees for the maple syrup, but then you are just picking up sugar and flour from the grocery store. Pretty normal stuff. This comes with a combo of both farming and fishing buffs. So if you like the flexible foods that will get multi-purpose, this is one for you to think about. Maple Bar is available from the Queen of Sauce on Summer 14 Year 2. So this is another reason for you to make sure you are checking those recipes as you are going through your day. Probably turn your TV on before you go out the door. Number 4, Complete Breakfast. At 200 points of energy, 90 points of health, I will admit it has the most ingredients numerically. But if we take a step back and look at them, they're things you largely can obtain very easily. Egg to fry an egg, milk, potatoes to turn into hash browns, then you're looking at flour to create pancakes. For all of this, these are things you grow on the farm or you just pick up at Pierre's. Pretty simple stuff. You get max energy up to 50 points, as well as level 2 farming buff. And this is Marnie's favorite dish. All of these variables play into the equation that it's made the top half of my top 10 recommendations. Complete Breakfast is available, again, from the Queen of Sauce, Summer 21, Year 2. Again, turn on the TV before you walk out the door in the morning. Number 3, Autumn's Bounty. Autumn's Bounty comes with 220 points of energy, 99 points of health, ridiculously cheap. It's a yam and a pumpkin. And for that you get +2 in foraging and +2 in defense. Again, I like the multi-purpose buffs, and these are buffs that we haven't seen occur too often with some of the other dishes. When you look at the buffs you get for the investment you make, this is a pretty high return of investment on your culinary skills. Autumn's Bounty is available from Demetrius at the 7 Heart event. Number 2, Pumpkin Soup. 200 points of energy, 90 points of health, and is looking at pumpkin and milk for ingredients, getting even simpler, keeping the +2 defense, and it's giving you +2 of luck. This was another discovery I had when I actually went through the stats and when I started comparing, again, the investment versus the returns. This very quickly became one of my favorite foods within the Stardew Valley menu. Pumpkin soup is available from Robin at the 7 Heart event. Before we hit number 1, my favorite dish of Stardew Valley, let me give you an honorable mention. Surprised me when I looked at the stats. Pink cake! Pink cake is the max, the highest value of energy and health. 250 points of energy, 112 points of health. And the ingredients are not uncommon. You need to grow the melons and collect a few eggs, and then you're buying sugar and flour from Pierre's. Actually very surprised. About the only reason it didn't make it onto the top 10 list is because it didn't have any buffs to really balance out the amount of ingredients you're putting into it. But I had to give respect to the highest health and energy points on anything I've seen. Pink cake is available again from that Queen of Sauce, Summer 21, Year 2. Guys, if you're not noticing this during the summer of Year 2, keep checking that television. You get a lot of great recipes that way. And now, my number one top favorite dish within the Stardew Valley menu. One thing I would make sure that you're working towards to keep into your back pocket. Eggplant Parmesan. This is what I'm talking about. I wouldn't eat this stuff in real life. I'm not an eggplant fan. But in the game, I like these benefits. You're looking at 175 points of energy, 78 points of health. You get +1 mining and +3 defense. If you're trying to make a Skull Cavern run, this is something to shovel down. Because for all of that, it's ridiculously cheap. Plants that you grow, eggplant and tomato, and you get a plate of eggplant parmesan +3 defense? That is a deal. Eggplant Parmesan is available from Linus at 7 hearts.
So if this helped you out or just made you smile, leave a like and subscribe. I drop videos like this each week. If you want to see more, that's what playlists are for. I'm Commander Tom, and I've got mining to do. I'll see you next mine. Thanks.